Hello and welcome to the Real Exes of Portland podcast, coming to you from Portland, Oregon. I'm Heather.
I'm Sofie.
And I'm Amy.
And we are real women, real friends with real stories.
That are super juicy.
And I might add, real boobs. And we would love for you to follow us on Instagram at The Real Exes Portland. And we will be hanging out with you guys every Wednesday afternoon.
And you know what Wednesday is?
Wine Wednesday.
Cheers.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Exes of Portland podcast. Thank you once again for coming back and listening to us and putting up with us and putting up with Sophie's laugh and putting up with my dorkishness and putting up with
our mics.
We got issues with the mics, but no, I think we've got it. We got another one.
Four. What does that mean if we have four mics now?
What might that mean? There's three of us. Ding, 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 ding. We have a special guest today, and we're going to get into that in just a moment. But anyway, as usual, grab a glass and give a cheers, and it's Wine Wednesday.
Cheers.
Okay, now, the name of our special guest that we have here on the podcast today is Phil. We have our first male subject.
I think I'm going to disappoint a lot of the ladies out there, aren't I?
I'm hot. I'm going to take my sweater
It's
off.
already happening.
We're not even that deep into the wine yet. Come on.
Oh, my Lord. So, yeah, here it is. It's Wednesday. We've got our wine, and we have a special guest. And, you know, we're all about telling stories here on our podcast. And Phil is gracious enough to come on and tell another juicy story.
Absolutely.
So, welcome.
I don't know if it's that juicy or not,
well.
but we'll find out what the listeners think. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it and letting me share my story. I was thinking on the drive-in as I was about a lot of things, right?
Yeah, of course.
About how rewarding this is, I feel like, for me, as it is maybe for the listeners out there, just because this is probably the first time I will have said the story in whole. Mm-hmm. You know, instead of snippets here and snippets there and things like that. So if I'm a little nervous, forgive me. Mm-hmm. So
you sound great. As a matter of fact, I wanted to say, I think we might have to have him on as a regular. You have a great voice. Yeah, I think it's going to come across sounding fabulous.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So where to begin? I was thinking about this because I listened to last week's podcast. Alex did phenomenal. So cheers to Alex. If you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that for sure. My story, I'm going to, I think, almost tell in reverse, if that works for you. Let's get to the end, the punchline here, right?
Yeah.
Let's not string the ladies along anymore.
Stop teasing us.
But I came out at 37 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of the story that I wanted to tell. And Pride Month, we felt like this was
Yes.
a good time.
I was going to say that, and then I didn't want to I didn't know when you were going to say anything. But I was going to say, everyone, we're having a great Pride Month. We've already had one story in relation, and now we're going to have another one. And here we go. So,
And I think all of this is pretty recent, right? From what I understand. Right?
This is all pretty recent. So, because I'm only 38 right now, right? So it was actually just in September. So 9 months ago, maybe. Now my personal self realization was probably 2.5 years of that. But yeah, it was basically 9 months ago that I had gotten into an argument with my partner, and I'm in a relationship and have been for 2.5 years. So if you do the math on that, I wasn't out for a year and a half of that. And he was very supportive, very understanding, but continued to push me. And, we moved in together in October. And so by September, kind of the clock was ticking, right? It was time to make a decision. I'll keep my words pleasant for the audience.
Oh, you don't have to.
Oh, okay.
No, this goes straight to explicit.
I was just going to say that we have the little E in our podcast. Yes.
Good. Yeah. Well, then I was going to say shit or get off the pot.
That's exactly the words I was thinking.
So yeah, I mean, it was September, and we got into an argument. It was about that again, which tended to be most of our arguments. And I needed to get out of the house for a while, and I got in the car and I drove to my boss's house. And if you know me at all, I have 2 bosses, but which I'm close with both of them. But one of them, I would say, I mean, they're both mentors in the same sense, but there was one that I just wanted to share this with and showed up. He was working on his bike in the garage, and I sat on the floor, and he was like, "What's up?" I was like, he's like, "Do you want to go inside?" And I finally came out to him. And I think part of the reason that I started there was also because I am the leader of his organization, and he is a Christian man, and his family is, and he was so supportive. I mean, the very first thing he did was got up and just gave me the biggest, longest hug.
I have goosebumps. This is so awesome.
That and it was, and told me how proud of me he was. Yeah. And so that was really reassuring, because that was kind of a big mental mind block in the journey. And we talked for probably 45 minutes, and I asked a lot of questions. Are you comfortable with me leading your organization still? Which of course he was. And where did his beliefs lie in this? Because while I wouldn't say I'm a practicing religious person, I would still say that I have faith. Now, I think we're still figuring that out.
Sure.
But and how do those coexist? Because so often they don't. Coexist, or they can't coexist for a lot of people, which is really unfortunate, because if you were to follow Jesus and read the Bible, and not to get too spiritual and all of that, there's a lot of good to be taken from that book, and a lot of ways we should be living our life. And I try and follow those in any way that I can. But we had a nice conversation about how he believes that God created each of us individually and for who we are, and we were put on this planet for a purpose, and so that is kind of where I lie in my personal beliefs. Now, one thing is, I believe that everybody can believe what they want to, and more power to them. And we were talking about this when we hung out, Amy, over the weekend, was that it is personal. It's your personal relationship with religion, or your personal relationship with your family, or all these things. It's supposed to be personal. So anyways, I digress, but that was a really big obstacle to overcome. And then over the next few weeks, it was coming out to actually, before I even came out to my family, it was my other boss at work, which I followed him out to the car one day, and we sat inside, and his response was, "Gee, Phil, I think we knew that already." Oh my God. Not in a bad way. I know a lot of people take that personal, but when you go, I've worked for them for 14 years, and as long as I've been with them, and I haven't been in a relationship or anything like that. So yeah, I just kind of, told myself that I was going to hide it my entire life. That was the plan, right? I was going to marry myself to my job, as many people who know me know that. I could be there at open and all the way till close, and and all of that. So that was a big obstacle to overcome, and I was just going to be happy with that, because I'm the type of person that was just comfortable flying under the radar, and I think there's a lot of people out there that are probably just want to fly under the radar, right?
Yeah.
So that was a big milestone, and finally, I think after a couple of weeks, one of the owners, or the one that I came out to first, was like, all right, Phil, it's time. You got to go see your family. Like, you're going to regret this the longer you wait, or it's going to get harder the longer you wait. And so I drove down, and I think I had the day off, and I got there at like 12:30, and I started with my brother-in-law of all people, and he was working from home, and so we had lunch together, and I told him, and because I knew that he was pretty welcoming and accepting, but wanted him to gauge how the rest of the family was going to take it.
Sure.
So
was it unusual for you to just kind of like show up at lunchtime?
Very unusual.
Okay.
He knew something was
okay.
going on. He knew something was going on.
And
so
how long of a drive? You said drove down.
It's an hour.
Okay.
So
Correct.
just down to Salem.
Okay.
So made that drive and told him, and then washed my car because the weather was nice still in September, and I was like, all right, this will clear my head. Stalling. I was waiting for my sister to get home because I wanted her to be next, and her response was, okay, so what's for dinner? Like, it was kind of like,
just life goes on.
That's life. Happy for me. Didn't have a lot of questions. She just was happy for me to be who I am.
You're my brother, and I love you.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that was reassuring. And then mom and dad, who lived right next door to my sister, they were next, and they were the ones I was.
You say it like you're going to get butchered or something. They were next.
Well, this is so interesting. They are the most liberal, welcoming people. My whole family is, for the most part.
I kind of want to meet your family now.
Yeah, I know. They'll be on the next podcast. And so my sister was like, "Do you want to go? You want me to go with you?" And I was like, "Sure, you can come with me." And then we get in there, and she's like, "Phil has something to tell you." And I was like, "Stephanie," and she was like, "Phil's got a boyfriend." I'm like, "Oh." So she pretty much did it for me, which made it easy, and not a lot was said that night, and it was love and respect, and as long as I'm happy, they just wanted to see me happy, and so that was really important. So that was kind of my journey of coming out. I told my brother over the phone. Unfortunately, I do have one family member that is not welcoming, more religious, and doesn't believe in that. And still trying to continue to have a relationship there is difficult. And I don't even mean relationship, because I'm fine cutting all ties if you don't want to be around me, and that's okay. That's all right. But when they're family, right, it makes it a little more interesting. Yeah. So holidays are a little bit more tense and awkward now. But luckily this person tends to bow out more often than I do. So that's good.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they feel uncomfortable, then they should.
I think the hardest thing for me was, like, I'm ready to cut ties because I don't want that in my life, and my family was not, and that was the challenging part, and we still have arguments to this day.
Sure.
Because I think that if you truly love and support me, why would you support somebody that holds these beliefs? Why would you want somebody that holds these beliefs in your life and things like that? So that's been a journey as well, and just trying to figure that all out. So that's pretty much my coming out story. It's been a journey. Honestly, what really kicked it off for me, well, I should say this, because I guess I told you the story about coming out, but I didn't really tell you about my self-realization. I probably knew since I was, fifth grade, fourth grade.
Yeah, my son is in sixth grade right now.
Yeah, and I can tell you that it's always been boys, and so I held that in for a really long time. There was never. I've talked to a lot of people in the community, and there's conversations about when did you know, and was there self realization. Nope, I knew from the minute I knew, from the very beginning, but never felt quite comfortable, and. Again, I said I was just going to kind of live a life to myself, which was okay. I still had great friends and support group.
So did you confide in any of your friends?
That's an interesting, yes. So none of my friends, no. They couldn't be too close. I wanted to be, the only ones, I had a therapist in college that I confided in. One of the summers that I came back working just for the summertime, there was a friend of a friend that was out, and I confided in him, mostly thinking he might be interested, but he wasn't.
Dang it.
Yeah. And I want to say there wasn't really anyone else. I'm trying to think. There might have been one other person, but no, held it to myself for.
And did you? I'm curious. I'm obviously I'm just really curious. So did you experiment? Did you find a gay community that you could in college or?
Never a single thing until I was 35 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's interesting, again, going back to spirituality and things like that. Like, I'm a big believer that things happen for a reason.
Me
And
too.
we try and find the positive and even the negative. And COVID
Yeah.
was a pretty dark time for some people.
Oh yeah.
For a lot of people.
Yeah.
But for me in my line of work, we were closed for 11 months. And anybody that knows me is I've got to be around people. I've got to be,
I can see that.
And so I don't even know. Well, so a lot of time at home. And online, right? We have Netflix. And I guess to go back to your original question, this doesn't mean that I didn't explore online.
Yeah.
But like any actual physical person, absolutely not. And so had a lot more time at home, and there were a few things that all kind of happened all at the same time. So the day that the governor announced that we were going to shut down, I can't remember if it was like the 15th or the 16th of March.
I remember too. It's like the 15th of March.
And so it was that afternoon, and then I got a phone call from my dad. And my dad doesn't call very much. We talk every day, but it's always through my mom's phone. They're always together, right? Every now and then he'll check in on me. But and so my dad called and said, "Hey, just want to let you know I've been having some medical concerns, and I've still got some more tests, but they're pretty sure it's cancer." And so I can just remember being in the back of the facility at work, and I was just bawling as my boss drives by, the first one I was telling you about, and just like, I'm a wreck. And it wasn't really in that moment that I made a decision, but after that I kind of made a decision when you reflect a lot and think about life. And I kind of told myself, enough's enough. Who do I want on my deathbed, at my deathbed by my side? And did I want to be alone? And the answer was no. And so ultimately that's when I started to explore a little bit more. It started with a friend that I knew was out. He was in actually a movie series down in LA. He still lived down there. That was a gay series. So I reached, and we went to high school together. When I was a senior, he was a freshman. And so I reached out to him just on Facebook and, struck up a conversation, and eventually, came out to him even just online. And he was a great support. He really was. And he was very sad that I hadn't told him back then, because he had a big crush on me in high school, apparently. But
Of course.
but now the situations are different and changed. But
Yeah.
he helped me get how to get out on the apps, how to make your profile, how to put yourself out there, all while doing this during COVID. So yeah.
I'm like, I mean,
She's in
we all
awe.
have.
Yeah.
Well, we all have our stories during COVID, because I think several different things happened to people during that time, and because it was pretty pivotal for a lot of people. I met Mr. X during COVID on like March 25th or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Those were dark times, weren't they?
and I mean, if COVID didn't happen, how far would you have taken it?
I don't even know, right? I mean, we probably would have just going on living life as we did. And there was a movie that I watched towards the beginning of COVID, and I'm so cheesy, corny for the romance movies. And so there was a movie called The Thing About Harry. I think it was I don't even know what they call it anymore. Lifetime Family type movie. Yeah. Like definitely never came out on DVD, not in the theaters, straight to TV. And it was so impactful on my life. And not necessarily because it was a journey about coming out, but it was a journey about two high schoolers that ultimately went into college, and high school they thought they hated each other, and in college found out that one was gay and one was pan, and went on this road trip together, and just it was magic. I mean, there was this night where they just connected, and I was like, I want that connection with someone. I want that in my life, and kind of tired of hiding who I was, and not that I don't still hide who I am, because I'm not. I don't go shout it from the rooftop, but at least true to myself.
And I think you'll get to that point. I mean, all of the self-awareness, accepting it for yourself. I'm sure there's steps that you are also processing too as you discover.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I wish it didn't take 35 years. I don't know why it did. I mean, we'll dive into that a little bit. And depending on time.
No, we're time. No, we're time.
But, I think that was a lot of years I said this early on to my now partner. I said, what took me so long was I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be, gay. I wouldn't choose this if this was my destiny. And that kind of hurt him a little bit. Oh. And I can think back now when saying that, because if I didn't want to be who I was, then why would I be with someone else? And so that kind of journey of self-acceptance even went on after the coming out portion of the story. So anyways, just going back to, COVID and during that time. So he got me signed up, and he lives in LA still. So it wasn't like we ever could see each other. But he got all the first texts about the first dates and the things like that. So I put myself out on Hinge and Bumble. So did those, and I know this is the real exes, and I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of exes, but okay. I have a lot of exes in my head. They just may not have known it at the time, so we'll dive into that. The first guy I dated, we really hit it off, and I cared for him. I just think that ultimately we were a little bit different, and but he was really the one. I was still in the closet, and I was very open with him about that, and he helped me explore a lot of different things about who I was, and so I'm really thankful for him. And I would say he was the only really serious one. There was maybe one that lived up in Seattle, but other than that, until I met my current partner, there wasn't a super serious relationship.
Well, it's not surprising considering, I mean, and I'm just hearing your story for the first time.
Absolutely.
So, it's like you were, maybe progressing back to your, being a 16, 18-year-old, early 20s and dating and so forth. So you're just kind of, your timeline is just is off, and you're like, as far as traditional or what have you, or even people who come out early or, early on. It is really sad that that's where you're at, like that's what happened. But I am so proud of you. Oh my God. And thank you so much. I know this is not the end of the podcast, but it's eye-opening because, you grew up you're probably born in the 80s or something
85,
like that.
85, yeah.
And, and it's not until more recent. I mean, my son we watch stuff about, gay men and gay couples, and we have open discussions, and, he has his own journey, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But he, I'm letting him figure this out.
Right.
And I personally have gave him the option that he can tell me anything. And I really try not to react, and even if it's like innocent stuff, but I don't want to react to him because I want to make sure he feels comfortable that he can tell me anything.
Yeah.
I've heard about his kisses. I've heard, and he's 12. And yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's when you say you were 12 at the time, 11, 12. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And he tells me everything, and it would have broken my heart if he had to wait till he was 35 to come out to me.
Right. And I really appreciate that mindset, and that, and my sister has an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old, and they are raising them that way, to be who you are, and that whoever you are is okay with us. And I really appreciate that. And I think we've made, a lot of progress over the years.
I know. Thank God.
There's still more to be made. I mean, even as I'm sitting here, and don't take any offense to this, but you said we've talked about gay couples, and I would love to get to the day that we just say we talked about couples.
Yeah. From his perspective, love is love, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. It's all the same. Like, I really do think this particular generation is growing up very different from anyone else.
There's a whole new generation. I'm really proud of them. The 16 to 18, 20-year-olds that I really think it's even taking it one step further of just total acceptance, total normalcy, total, this is who we are, and we own it. And that's really exciting to see, because we just want to live and be loved and share love and those kinds of things. We were talking about this at dinner the other night, and I don't know, I'm totally making these statistics up, so don't fact check me. But I guess I view the world as like there's 15% of the world that is to one side, very liberal, very pride, very they're going to shout it, they're going to force it on you, they're going to live it, breathe it, and then there's 15% on the other side that are going to be usually, and I'm doing stereotypes, religious based and don't believe in it and not accepting, and they're gonna fight back, and we see some of that in politics now, of that 15%. But there's really this 70% in the middle that is just like you and me, right? That just want to live our life and be happy for one another and take care of one another, and so I hope that the 70% can continue to help push the needle for us on some of those talking points about just love is love, right?
Love is love. Yeah.
Human to human. We're just humans. We're all humans. It doesn't matter race, politics, religion. Everybody deserves the same rights. Everybody deserves the same care and comfort and support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the sooner that we can figure that out, the sooner that we will, solve not a lot of our problems, but in the world, I mean, we've talked about teenage suicide and various things like that. And if they just knew that they were, welcome and accepted. I mean, so many people are afraid to come out or to be different from what the norm is, right? In quotes, that, it's when they have the choice, they choose that. And that breaks my heart. So, anyways, I don't know that I will ever be out there, screaming from the rooftop, but if I can do my part and share my story,
That's great.
then I think that's, if I can help just one person.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Right?
that one person.
Just that one person.
That's right.
So, but anyways, we were talking about relationships and things like that, and the self-exploration, because I knew since I was very, very young, and really there was never a doubt in my mind, even though I tried to fight it.
A question on
yeah.
that. Did you happen to try? I mean, did you think, I want to maybe try going out with a girl?
Oh, yeah, and
I
I
just
did.
wondered. Oh, okay, you're
yeah.
maybe going to get to that.
No,
Sorry.
absolutely.
Jumping the gun here.
No. I mean, didn't really date in high school. I mean, I dated, but nothing ever led to anything physical. College definitely led to physical. I mean, it still works.
Yeah.
But ultimately, and yeah, so could I have gone down the path of find a woman, marry a woman, raise a family, do all of that? I easily could have done that.
But you would have been battling the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even more than I already was,
Right.
just kind of hiding it.
I bet you there's a higher percentage of that happening than we realize. Do you think?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a friend that he was married and had 2 kids and then came out. And that he was a fair amount older than I was, maybe 8 or 10 years older. So I got to see that transpire. And I think that was one of the reasons that I would have never gone down that path, because I didn't want to put others in that situation.
Yeah, because there's pain that goes along with that, like
Right,
it
there
affects
is.
other people.
Now, eventually, we may get to a time and place in our lives where, like Alex, it's we're gonna have a family with a man, then we're gonna have a family with a woman, and then we're gonna have a family with a man, and it's not really gonna matter, and then that won't be as big of an impact. But especially at that time, it was pretty impactful on the families and things like that. But now looking back, he's happy. The woman's remarried and happy, and the kids are just fine. And so good for him.
Yeah.
Would I've done it a little bit different? I probably would have tried, but everybody's got their own journey. So
Yeah, I have a relative that transitioned to a woman and 2 kids, and changed everything about her life. And it's
was she married at the time?
she was with her partner who she was having the children with.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I did get an email when she came clean, saying I've never felt comfortable in my skin. This is what I'm going to be doing. And she shared her whole story online with family. Obviously from the family point of view, there was, there's a grieving, when you give birth to a child, and then and I think that, and so it's, transitioning is a whole other, it's huge. I mean, it's not necessarily always sexual. It's like,
right. Well,
it's just identity.
In general, change is difficult. I would say for most people, right?
Yes.
Change is difficult. So you've had however many years, 25 years, let's say, of a certain person, a certain, expectation, lifestyle of it would be no different than if, Amy all of a sudden, was out of my life. Well, that's a change. That would be an adjustment period for me. And so, that's it. I get that. And I'm hopeful that the family came around and supportive and all of that.
No, I think everybody is supportive and loving and so forth. So, but it's just very, it's. I just, your story is amazing. So I know we keep interrupting with questions, so you need to finish your story.
No. I feel like I'm talking too much. So.
No, you're not. Not at all. No.
But just I guess a little bit more about the journey from like the beginning of knowing, and you were asking about relationships in high school. Again, I flew under the radar, didn't really date, so that wasn't. I still got asked to snowball and prom, and I was prom king at my high school. So yeah, we were a small senior class, but I'll still take credit for it.
That's going into the title of this podcast.
I love it.
So I would say I was on the popular end. I wasn't a jock or anything like that, but but we talk about exes, and while I don't have any exes, there were personal relationships with me that I had to get over because of not being out and comfortable and or having a fairy tale in my head of what I wanted life to be like. So there was one in high school, and a guy that I was super close with and spent every day together, and went down to college with, and it was. I mean, I literally sold my soul to this person. I would have done anything for this person. And it wasn't until the end of my freshman year, grades were dwindling. I wasn't happy. I was depressed. I knew I couldn't have what I wanted, right? He was straight. And so I was in a pretty dark place. And that was actually a turning point because I was about to just drop out. I was just going to come home. That was when I saw the therapist for the first time on campus. That kind of helped me. And ultimately, and we were supposed to live together sophomore year. So I was like, wait, I'm going to perpetuate this for another year of just torturing myself, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I was just infatuated. That was what I wanted. And I always ask myself, who knows if it's infatuation? Is it love? Is it a myth? I don't really know. But to me, it was real and it was a heartbreak, right? And that's what I think, is all about breaking up, or is typically there's a heartbreak. Maybe not in these three, but we might be cheering. But so I decided to join a fraternity at that point. Still closeted, but it was, my grades were slipping, and I got introduced to this group of people, and it was honestly one of the best things that could have happened to me. Not that it helped me on this journey, but we were in the library. I mean, they made sure my grades passed. They were, I mean, it was definitely lots of check-ins. They were great guys. They cared about you. It was a brotherhood. It was family, away from family.
Yeah.
And so I know fraternities get a bad rap, and you'll notice I never say the word frat, right? Because you wouldn't call your country a So we do the same thing with fraternity. But they were super supportive. Obviously they didn't know, and that was where probably my second love or infatuation was, where another obvious straight guy, but he was a little different because he would flirt. I swear I could not be that far off base. I mean, whether it be a couple drinks get in and the hand goes on my thigh, or walk in the middle of me in the shower or something like that. Like
Accidentally on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Drop my bar.
But nothing ever happened, as much as I tried, let me tell you. But, he just sucked me in and made me believe that there was something there. And it's unfortunate because I think I've lost so many relationships that I could still have friendships and things like that if I would have just been honest and truthful to myself. I don't think they would have cared to begin with. Sure. But instead of coming out or saying what it was, I would just cut all ties, right? As soon as it got unhealthy or to the point where I was at a breaking point, and even to this day, he'll reach out and he'll be like, are you ever going to show up at anything? Or and, oh yeah, I'm just super busy with work, and, but that was my way of that was easier for me.
Right. So what are you going to do now?
So what am I going to do now?
With him? If he contacts you again?
Oh, that's a good question. Because he's the cowboy boots, and I don't know where he stands on this. We had one friend in the fraternity that did come out while we were there in school, and he was never super accepting of him. And so it wasn't that he was
a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, and all of that. But after this podcast, I definitely won't reach out to him because he'll think there's some kind of ulterior motive. But
no, I just think it would be interesting because, it could be might be struggling or had something in his back. Maybe he was struggling with feelings that he had for you that were unresolved. And I'm certainly, he's probably married and 4 kids and has some horses. One of his name is Phil. One of his horses has been named Phil.
Oh man, honey, why are you out in the stable so much?
You keep riding Phil all the time.
That's perfect.
Oh, God. Too much.
That horse is so well hung.
Oh, we could go on and on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
I'm just saying,
It's like the conversation, like open up and, it's always the what ifs.
Yeah, I know. And I've been battling the what ifs my entire life because what if he doesn't want to hear it? Not that he's in my life much now, but I think part of that is me not wanting to make others uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think that is, honestly, I'm so, the type of person I am is so caught up in everybody else. Do they feel okay? Are they going to, it was less, honestly, I think it was, now that we're talking, like less about me and more about, I'm going to make somebody uncomfortable. I don't want to do that. And so you just didn't talk about it,
But really, the truth is, I think for me, because I can kind of be that way too, if they're uncomfortable, then it's going to, even though, like, if they're uncomfortable, then it's going to make you uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I prefer that it come up more naturally.
Right.
Again, and maybe that's my mindset of, I just want.
I was just thinking you're in a stable and he's got a horse named Phil. Well, speaking of Phil, Phil.
Sophie's stuck.
Oh my
She's
God,
stuck on the horse.
Stop it. I thought you were going to make a comment on the phrase came up naturally. Right?
I thought she was going somewhere there too. I was like,
that's how we normally roll.
yes, absolutely.
Because
our
women typically are naughtier than men, they say.
I believe
the
it.
men always get the bad rap, but really I think women are the naughtier.
So we can't get past this.
Lord.
I got lots of aunts, and those camping trips, the kids definitely had to go to bed. Let me tell you. Oh man, totally. So,
well, I was going to ask or say or make a comment that you seem really grounded and comfortable, and you mentioned seeing a therapist in college. And so, I mean, I don't know, would you still call it a healing journey, or are you still working? Because we all say we're on a healing journey as
Like
ladies in the podcast.
Healing journey.
that's a really interesting question. I don't know. I don't feel hurt. And I don't know if that's where healing means or comes from. I guess that's what I related to.
Oh, sure.
I think I never felt hurt. I think it was, but I think it's still a journey. I don't know if I would call it a healing journey.
Okay, got it.
Do I feel so much better? I mean, imagine that, right, in your head for 35 years.
That's heavy. That's like carrying around
every day.
Giant, lugging, heavy. Oh my God, I can't even. Oh.
And we're going to cut her mic, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be down to 3. But I think there's no, for me, I feel more healthy, more happy now than I ever have because of
I love it. I just
35 years of everything you do, right? The clothes you wear. Is that gonna make me, appear to this or that, or how I say something? Because people would obviously ask me, and it was interesting because Amy's significant other apparently knew since the first time we had a conversation, and Amy's like, I had no idea. And so it's very interesting. There's talking to people now. It's like some like, yeah, we figured, and others would be like, I had no idea, and so no, I think it's I feel good with where I'm at. It's maybe rebuilding those relationships or new relationships. And it's been so, I mean, my life freeing.
Like, yeah.
And I had a big friend group. I wouldn't even call it big, but a very close friend group pre-COVID. And a bunch of things happened. One left to be with him and his wife moved to Tennessee and got married and had a kid. And another one moved to Alaska. And so that was probably another factor with all this deciding was like, okay, now my dad's dying. I have, the world is in chaos. All of my support group has left me. I hadn't really met Amy at that time. I mean, we kind of knew each other, but we weren't talking as much as we were. And so that was part of it.
Well, and she is like a therapist. I mean, she is
She's our in-house.
I feel bad because we're draining. We suck the life out of her with all of our needs, our therapy needs.
I do have to remind her. I'm like, okay, let's talk about you now, because I can tell you're in. I'm starting to read you a little bit better.
That's a good point. I need to remember that too. Thank you,
Yes.
Phil. Yeah.
So,
Amy, I'm looking at you.
yeah, but since I came out, I mean, I've got Amy and I've got a really great group of friends that I met through bowling. That is very. I mean, we've got male-female couples. We have female-female couples. We have males that are gay. We have. I mean, it is the most diverse, most welcoming group. And sometimes we'll hang out with just a few, and I can just be me.
I love it.
Yeah. And so, I was talking about just what is the moral here, right? I mean, what is, and I just don't be so worried about others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what others, I know a lot of us are compassionate and we're worried about how others are going to feel, but sometimes you have to put your priorities first. Yeah. And sometimes you just got to have faith and jump off the edge, right? Dive into the pool.
That's so true, even in other aspects in life. Maybe not even with your sexuality, but just, I'm just going to put a quick little plug in here. I mean, like, I was super shy most of my life, and I kind of hid sort of too, and faked it a lot, and it's freaking exhausting.
It is. And how fear kept you from so much, I bet.
Yes, and I'm tearful today at my age about it, because I do feel like I missed out on a lot of things and events and opportunities and stuff like that. So the message, yes, loud and clear, is to definitely be who you are. I mean, to just be you. I mean, I don't even know how else to say it. So
and I think maybe that's even your healing journey. There must be some feelings that you have from your past because you didn't come out earlier, or that you were hiding, that there was a part of you that you could not explore or be yourself, or that there must be some type of, not sorrow, but like
there's regret. There is regret, and that is not to say I am not. Again, with the belief of like everything happens for a reason. This got me to this point that I'm very happy in and healthy and I feel good. But yeah, there is. I mean, there was a guy in college, the one that came out, that I'm pretty sure something might have happened one night, and where we both, had too much wine, and he said something like, "God, Phil, you're giving me mixed signals," and like, could I have stayed there? No, I went to the couch. Like those moments, and some of those you try and reach out to and rekindle, and I did reach out to him, and unfortunately, I don't think that door wasn't opened again. But yeah, there's a lot of regret, and I wasn't as welcoming of him, after the fact. And again, that was because I was pushing my own issues down so much, right? But yeah, there's lots of regret and lots of what ifs and things like that. But you can't live that way.
That's right.
I feel like since you told me, I mean, I felt like we were always close and connected, but as soon as you told me, it was like this door opened and all of a sudden you were totally yourself. There was this shift and it was comfortable. I mean, I remember a couple of times you came to me and you were like, "Do you still love me? Do you still care about me?" And I was like,
well, that's because I thought you were just in love with me. So
you had a crush.
Yeah, man crush.
Yeah.
Sorry, B. But no, you like came alive just in our interactions.
Absolutely.
And that was huge.
And I think you can see that because Amy still gives me a really hard time about I won't lie anymore, but I won't publicize it. Yeah. And so there's a lot of people within our group that still don't know. And I've told her, say it if you want to say it. Don't lie, first of all. But it's okay to me. But you can tell the relationship I have with Amy versus some of the others because I have that wall up,
But part of it might just be your personality too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like there are super flamboyant people or whatever that want to shout it from the rooftops, even if it doesn't involve sexuality. There just are those type of people that want to be seen and heard.
Flamboyancy
and
in
in any
Yeah.
realm, yeah. And it sounds maybe like that's just partly who you are. That you're just not gonna announce whatever.
But he did come on a podcast.
Well,
I did come on a podcast.
Okay,
This is true.
Okay, I digress.
This is true. I told you though, I guess if we were talking about healing, and we talked about this kind of before we turned on for the audience, but this is, for me, I think part of the healing process, if you want to say that, because it's the first time of putting it all together for one group of people or even for myself. And really, this is kind of out there now, that group of friends through, that we were talking about with Amy, if they listen to our podcast, and we'll find out, right. They're going to know. And I just want to live my life.
That's right.
I just want to continue moving forward, but this is definitely a piece of the journey for me that I felt like, really needed to happen.
And so your partner now.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Good question.
Yeah. You tell the deeds. You know the deeds. No, but anyways, he must be. He knows you're doing the podcast.
He knows.
today.
Yep. He knows we're doing
I'm
the
sure he's
podcast.
gonna be very happy.
Yes. Yeah. He texted me right before to say how proud he was and that he felt like this was going to be really good. And so we've been together 2.5 years. Obviously, a year and a half of that was me still figuring things out, and then that post, coming out has obviously been really good. But yeah, he's younger, so
you cougar.
God, we got cougars, we got horses.
We're very animalistic here.
We got a whole farm here. But so he's 11 years younger. So obviously, on my dating profile, I would say I had the range set pretty wide. Let's drag that net, see what we catch. But
I do that to mine.
You just
Inspiring her.
there are some things with age that can be, but there are some that can be a hindrance. But there's also a lot of things that once you get past a certain point, not as much, right? And you love who you love, and it kind of goes back to just be you and be truthful and all of that. So so we've lived together for 6 months, and we're together for a year and a half before that, or 9 months now, I guess.
So he moved in with you after you came out. Was that one of his stipulations?
That was one of the stipulations. Not that he said that. I mean, I think, but then how do you
live life?
How do you hide?
Yeah.
Right?
How do you hide?
Yeah.
This is my roommate.
You're right.
In a one-bedroom apartment.
In a one-bedroom condo. Yeah, I live in a really small place, or we live in a really small place.
Yes.
So
I was just ad-libbing.
that would have been a little bit of a challenge, but it was something that I needed to do, and maybe that deadline helped push me a little bit. Things are really good, and that was very, very helpful. So. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
I know.
That's so awesome. Well, you're going to have to show us pictures.
We don't take a lot of pictures. I mean, neither of us are really, I have social media accounts, but I don't think I posted anything in 2 years, 3 years. And before that was hardly anything. So, we don't take a lot of pictures, but
Sure, you have a phone in
He has at least one in there because you showed me a photo before I met him.
Yes. Yes. So no, I do have photos, and that's a podcast for another day, because appreciating yourself and your body. We need to have a whole series on that.
Yes, please.
And has he spent much time with your family?
He has. He has. All the holidays, all the things. Sometimes he'll bow out if one of my relatives is going. that doesn't. Sometimes that's the easier option.
Yeah.
But for the most part, no, he's there, and definitely a part of the family. And me with his mom's in Vegas, so. We don't get to see her quite as often, but Dad and his new future wife lives up here, and it's Sunday dinners every Sunday, and his brother is his best friend other than me, so lots of hanging out with him and talking on the phone with him and things like that. So very kind of all the normal things, you would say.
This
Yeah.
must be like day and night, your life.
It's kind of flipped upside down in 3 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit. All for the better, though. And I can sleep so much better at night. Let me tell you.
Yes.
So
That was a fascinating story.
Oh
It
my!
was so
And you are a
good.
very good storyteller.
okay, I wasn't sure about
Yes.
it.
No,
Oh,
this
yeah.
was
The
fabulous.
bar was set
Oh my
high,
gosh.
so-
And you
Shaw.
handled the horse jokes all through it. I wait till you get
Sophie will dish, and we
Oh
all
my God.
hope that everybody's fine at the end.
I love it.
Well, definitely, you'll have to come on the podcast again, and we can talk about we've got lots of. Well, I have a lot of issues, but
Yeah,
we have lots of
things.
subjects to
Yes.
talk about.
Absolutely.
Thank you again so much.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody, raise a glass. Happy Wine Wednesday.
Happy Wine Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. All right. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate you listening to us, and we look forward to hanging out with you next Wednesday. Please join us. And in the meantime, please follow us on Instagram at The Real Exes Portland. Also, we would love to hear from you and hear some of your juicy stories. You can email us your stories at rxop.yourstory@gmail.com. Until next week, bye.